The information provided in this video is for all technicians who are presently servicing air conditioning systems on Ford and Lincoln Mercury vehicles. 2 AC service kits have been released that provide the necessary equipment and information to perform a new mandatory AC system filtering procedure. This filtering procedure must be performed whenever a Ford compressor is replaced due to severe internal damage. The purpose of this video is to make you aware of the new mandatory AC filtering procedure, when this procedure is necessary, why it is necessary, and how to properly and safely perform this new procedure. The filtering procedure and related service kits were developed as a way to filter out refrigerant system contaminants that may have entered a vehicle's AC system as a result of compressor failure. When a compressor fails and internal damage occurs, AC system contaminants can be produced in several ways. Refrigerant loss, poor lubrication, and internal component failure can cause a number of physical and chemical reactions inside the compressor, resulting in the addition of contaminants to the AC system. The evacuation and flushing procedures covered in vehicle shop manuals will not sufficiently remove these contaminants from the AC system. So the AC system filtering procedure covered in this video must be performed before a new compressor can be installed. You should never install a new compressor without performing this mandatory filtering procedure, because the unremoved system contaminants can damage the newly installed compressor and other AC system components. This procedure is explained in the Filter Service Kit Instruction Sheet and Technical Service Letter number CCD-91-041. A Technical Service Bulletin, or TSB, based on these documents will also be released soon and will explain this procedure in more detail. By 1993, this procedure will also be incorporated into the appropriate shop manuals. As explained in the instructional information and earlier in this video, 2 separate service kits were released for performing this filtering procedure. Filter kits with the service part number suffix A are to be used on vehicles that have a nylon-lined suction hose that connects to the suction accumulator dryer and the compressor. Filter kits with the service part number suffix B are for vehicles with rubber-lined suction hose. We'll explain more about this when the actual filter procedure is performed later. But before beginning the filter procedure, let's quickly recap what you need to do before you begin. First, you need to determine that the compressor has failed and must be replaced. Then, remove the fixed orifice tube and liquid line if necessary, and verify that the compressor has caused system contamination. Look for a dirty orifice tube and liquid line containing black refrigerant oil and particles. If the system has been contaminated, get a copy of the proper technical letter, TSB, or shop manual information explaining the filter procedure. Also, before you begin, it's very important that you make sure to follow all of the refrigerant system's safety and service precautions outlined in the shop manual. Now you're ready to begin the filtering procedure. The first thing you'll need to do is drain the refrigerant oil from the damaged compressor into a clean, calibrated container. Then, drain the refrigerant oil from the new replacement compressor into a clean, calibrated container. A new FX15 compressor should contain approximately 207 milliliters of refrigerant oil. The proper amount of refrigerant oil must be added to the new compressor before it can be installed. We'll now cover the procedure for adding refrigerant oil to the FX15 compressor. For vehicles that do not use the FX15 compressor, make sure you refer to the refrigerant oil adding procedures and compressor removal and installation procedures in the shop manual. If you drained between 90 and 148 milliliters of refrigerant oil from the damaged FX15 compressor, pour the same amount of clean, new refrigerant oil into the new compressor. If the amount of oil you drained from the damaged compressor exceeds 148 milliliters, Pour only 148 milliliters of clean new refrigerant oil into the new compressor. Do not exceed this amount. If the amount of refrigerant oil you drained from the damaged compressor is less than 90 milliliters, pour 90 milliliters of clean new refrigerant oil into the new compressor. Install the new compressor onto the vehicle. Make sure the compressor mounting bolts are torqued to their proper specification. Next, remove the suction accumulator dryer from the vehicle and drain the refrigerant oil in it into a calibrated container. Add new refrigerant oil to the new accumulator dryer in the same amount that was removed from the old unit, plus an additional 60 milliliters of new refrigerant oil. Install the suction accumulator dryer into the vehicle. Next, you'll need to find out the type of suction hose that's in the vehicle you're working on in order to get the proper filter kit. The way you do this is by actually cutting the suction hose in a location suitable for the installation of an inline filter that you'll be installing later. After you've cut the hose, you'll need to measure the hose wall thickness. The wall thickness for rubber suction hoses is 1/4 inch. The wall thickness for nylon suction hoses is 1/8 inch. Now, get the proper service kit for the vehicle you're working on. Service kit F2VY-19E773-A is for vehicles with a nylon suction hose. Service kit F2VY-19E773-B for vehicles with a rubber suction hose. The next step is to install the barrel-shaped filter from the service kit in the suction hose between the suction accumulator dryer and the compressor. You'll need to cut out a section of the suction hose that will allow the insertion of the barrel-shaped filter. Hold the filter up to the suction hose where you previously cut it for an approximate measurement. Then cut out the proper amount of hose. After you've cut the hose, install these filter clamps loosely onto the ends of the hoses. While making sure the filter is installed with the refrigerant flow arrow pointing toward the compressor, install the ends of the filter into the hoses. Then, position and tighten the filter clamps to 45 pound-inches. Now you've completed the installation of the barrel-shaped filter for rubber suction hoses. However, if the vehicle you're working on has a nylon suction hose instead of a rubber one, the barrel-shaped filter from the service kit is installed in a slightly different way. The filter for nylon suction hose is installed in almost the same way, except that these O-rings have to be installed into the grooves at the end of the filter before the ends of the suction hose are connected. Also, the filter label should indicate that it is used with nylon inner-lined hose. Now, install a new fixed orifice tube. Normally, when performing this procedure, you would only need to replace the orifice tube itself. However, if the orifice tube in the vehicle you're working on is built into the liquid line, as in this case, the only way to replace the orifice tube is to replace the liquid line as an assembly. Your next step is to install the pancake-shaped filter included in the service kit. You can select the proper fittings for connecting the filter from AC Test Fitting Set D88P-19703-B. After the fittings are installed, connect these flexible refrigerant hoses to them. The hoses should have at least a 2500 psi burst rating. Now install the filter. It should be installed between the condenser and the fixed orifice tube. Make sure that the filter inlet is facing toward the condenser. After the pancake-shaped filter is installed, you'll need to evacuate the system. After you've made sure the vacuum is being held within the system properly and there are no leaks, you can charge and leak test the system. Make sure you observe all safety precautions. Before going any further, you should now ensure that none of the AC hoses, lines, or newly installed filters interfere with any of the other engine compartment components. If you need to, use tie straps to prevent component interference. The next step is to start the engine and let it idle for a few minutes. And set the function selector knob in the control assembly to max AC. the temperature control knob to the full cool position and the blower motor control knob to the high position. Then make sure the AC system is operating properly. In order to allow the refrigerant inside the condenser to cool properly and prevent excessive head pressures during this procedure, position a fan toward the front of the condenser and turn it on. Gradually bring the engine up to 1200 RPM and run it for an hour at this speed with the AC system operating in the mode that you set it at. After an hour has passed, shut off the engine and allow it to cool sufficiently. Then discharge the refrigerant into a recovery unit. Now remove the pancake filter fittings, the flexible hoses, and the pancake filter itself from the vehicle and throw away the filter. It can only be used once. Then reconnect the liquid line assembly to the condenser. The barrel-shaped filter you installed earlier is supposed to remain installed in the suction hose permanently. So make sure that it is still installed properly and does not interfere with any other engine compartment components. Next, evacuate, charge, and leak test the AC system. And check the AC system for proper operation in all mode settings. Now you've completed the procedure for filtering the AC system during compressor replacement. You should now understand how and why this procedure should be performed and how to do it in a safe and effective manner. As a final reminder, make sure to carefully follow all of the directions and safety precautions in the service kit instruction sheet, technical letter, TSB, and shop manual in order to properly and safely perform this procedure.